Oh, what a beautiful afternoon. Oh, what a beautiful day. And I always ask the question, how can you make sure that you have a great day every day? Because have you heard or have you said or are people saying to you, I'm having a bad day. My life's not going the way I want it to. I'm not healthy, fit and strong. I don't have a career or business that I love. I don't have enough money. I have crappy people in my life. The things that people whinge, moan and complain about. And it's a really interesting question. It's going to sound very harsh coming from an old lady who's lived on the planet a very long time. But is it time that we take responsibility, accept the consequences for our actions? It's really easy to blame other people when something goes wrong. It's really easy to justify why you haven't done something, become defensive about why your life hasn't worked out. But as an adult, and I always like to point out that if we're not children, because when we were children, our parents decided what we would eat, when we would go to bed, when we would go to school, what clothes we would wear. They even taught us what words we should use and what language we should speak. But as an adult, we get to choose all of those things. We get to choose what we eat, how much exercise we do or don't do. We interview for a job, or we train for a position, or we educate ourselves to get a career or business that we love, or end up in a career or business that we don't love. We choose where we spend money, waste money, invest money, and we choose who we spend time with, waste time with, invest time with, the people that we put into our life. So is it possible as an adult that we have to accept the consequences of our choices? And interestingly, a lot of people again share with me, but Rowie, I've had a bad childhood, or a terrible thing happened to me 10 years ago, or I'm this way because of what happened to me in the past. Well, there's, again, a really harsh question to ask. And a lot of people don't like to answer the question, but I'm going to ask it very personally and very strongly. What can we change about the past? It happened. Doesn't matter how bad it is, how traumatic, how horrible, what terrible person did a terrible thing to us. It's in the past and there is nothing we can do about it. But as an adult now, we get to have a choice. We get to choose whether that horrible thing that happened to us in the past, that traumatic experience, is going to control our future. If we allow that person, that thing, that experience to turn us into a drug addict, a overeater, a gambler, an anorexic, a depressed person, and they're all the things that I deal with on a day-to-day basis. People share with me, I'm anorexic, I'm depressed, I'm an alcoholic, I gamble, I take drugs. And there's always, my very first question is, why do you do that? There's a reason why we want to forget about the past, that we want to not face the current situation, or we're scared of the future. And is it possible that the things that have happened to us in the past, if we don't deal with them, if we don't accept responsibility for them, or if we don't get stronger, tougher and better and wiser because of them, we then take on something that tries to help us forget. So we drink, or we take drugs, or we smoke, or we gamble, or we have sex, or we shop, or all the different addictions there are. But it's interesting because, of course, I'm not a psychologist, but I've been on this planet a really long time. I've been a personal exercise coach for a very long time, and I've been an educator for a very long time. And there are some patterns that keep reoccurring. This happened to me in the past, so I've got a shit life and I'm doing these shit things to myself, so I can't have a great future. But I've met lots of people who have had the same terrible thing, traumatic thing, horrible thing happen to them, and they decided they weren't going to let that control their life. I'm not going to gamble, smoke, take drugs, eat too much food, become a compulsive, obsessive person because of this terrible thing that happened in my past. I'm going to become a tough, strong, wise person because I've learnt from what happened to my past, or what happened to me in my past. And this is a very adult conversation. It's very confrontational, I get that. But every day people share with me that they want to be happy, they want to have a great life, they want to have a future that's exciting and interesting, and they want to achieve their goals. But it seems like they're allowing their past to hold them back, or they're allowing their bad habits that they're doing right now to hold them back. But every bad habit that anybody's got, that we've ever had, there's a reason we started that. There's a reason we started smoking. There's a reason we started drinking. There's a reason people gamble. There's a reason that people get addicted to the internet. There's a reason that people overeat. What's the reason? And often when you end up on a psychiatrist's couch or you end up at a counsellor or a psychologist, the question is asked, tell me about your past. Tell me what happened to you before. And then it comes out, I want to forget about my past, so I drink because this happened to me. I want to forget about this horrible thing that happened to me in my past, so I take drugs. I feel depressed and anxious because of this horrible thing that happened to me in the past. Well, there's a very confrontational, harsh question to be asked there. Will you allow your past to control your present and to affect your future? And as an adult, do we get a choice for that? And only because I deal with people every day that have made two different choices. Same bad experience, horrible past, horrible traumatic thing happened. One person says, I'm not going to allow that to affect my life. I'm going to become tougher, stronger, better, wiser because of it and make my future better so that I don't have to have that affect my life. I'm not going to allow that person to control my future. And there's other people who share with me quite openly and happily almost, I'm depressed because of that thing. I drink because of that thing. I take drugs because of that thing. I'm overweight because of that thing. Well, that might be true, and I accept that it's true for everybody that says I'm overweight because, or I drink because, or I gamble because. But as an adult, do we not get to decide? Could you decide today that I'm not going to let my past control my present or affect my future? I'm an adult and I get to choose. The same as I get to choose what I eat, I get to choose what I wear, I get to choose the music that I listen to, I get to choose who I invest or waste time with, I get to choose my job, I get to choose whether I'm going to allow my past to screw up my future or I'm going to force my past to be a great learning experience so that my future is awesome. And I know there's a lot of, I can't help it, it's not my fault, I'm going to blame the past, I'm not going to take responsibility for my life. And that in itself is a choice, and isn't that exciting? And I really respect that. But all I'm asking is that if you are blaming somebody else for your current situation, could it be a really good idea to have a look at your current situation and say, am I in this situation because of my past, which means my past is controlling my present, and will I allow it to control my future? I'm asking these questions very personally because you can do, of course, whatever you want. And you can drink and you can gamble and you can overeat and you can take drugs and you can be unfit, you can be unhealthy. You're an adult, you get to choose. But I'm really concerned about our kids, our future adults, that if they grow up in that environment, they actually believe that they don't have a choice. And you might believe that you don't have a choice. You might have grown up in an environment where it was normal to be unhappy, depressed, drink, gamble, smoke, take drugs, not have a job, have a terrible life. But again, every day, without fail, I work with people who had a horrible past like that. They were surrounded by terrible people, but they didn't want that experience, those people, to affect their future. So they decided to use that terrible experience to be a driving force for why they weren't going to live their life like that. And it's awesome that people do that, and it's awesome that some kids do that all by themselves. They don't need a counsellor, they don't need a psychiatrist, they don't need somebody to be the living example for them. They just look at something horrible. It makes sense to them that they don't want to live their life like that, so they don't. They have a look at what somebody's doing and they do exactly the opposite. So if somebody's drinking, gambling, smoking, taking drugs, doesn't have a job, has a terrible life, doesn't have any money and hates all the people in their life, they say, well, I'm going to watch what that person's doing. Whatever they're doing, I'm going to observe it and do exactly the opposite so that my life is not going to turn out that way. Now, I don't know if that's a gene that you're born with that says that you're logical and common sense and I don't want to live my life like that. I don't know. What I do know, though, is that there are some people, some children in particular, that can't figure that out for themselves. They need to have a living example. And that's why it seems we've got so many social media influencers, YouTubers that have so much influence over our kids, athletes, movie stars, musicians, where our kids are going, well, they've got lots of money and they take drugs, so I'm going to take drugs. So I can have lots of money, or I can have lots of people that I can have sex with. There's all sorts of influences in the world. And I don't want that for our kids. I would love our kids to have a positive influence. And that's been a driving force my whole life, and I always share that story. When I was 13 years of age, I knew that I wanted to be healthy, fit and strong for the rest of my life. I knew that I wanted to have a career or business that I was really excited about waking up for. I wanted to be financially free so that I never had to struggle for money. And I only wanted great people in my life, meaning respectful people in my life. And I went looking for a role model, for an example, for a living, breathing human being that had all of that wrapped up. And I couldn't find any. And as I always share, some people were healthy, but they had a lousy job. Some people had lots of money, but they just spent no time with their kids. That whole package of be healthy, fit and strong, have a career or business that you love, be financially free and have great people in your life. That's my driving force. That's what Romax is about every day. That's what the Max International Colleges is about. That's what the whole education diploma program is about. I want to be the living example so the kids that don't know that they can do it can see that it is possible. There's that old lady who is healthy, fit and strong and loves her life. She loves her business. She's never had a lousy, stinking, rotten job. Even though she doesn't have a tertiary education, because she loves what she does for a living so much and because she's so passionate about it, she is financially free and she would never accept negative, nasty, disrespectful people in her life. That living example is something that I wish for all of our kids to experience. So whatever's happened in your past, and I don't even like to talk about the past. I've had shit things happen to me. I've had horrible people. People have stolen from me, lied to me, physically and mentally abused me. I've had all of that stuff. And I'm one of those people that said, I'm not going to let that affect my life. The consequence of that, how is that going to reveal itself in my life? It's not going to be that I'm going to eat too much, drink too much, take drugs, gamble. It's going to be I've learned from that and my life's going to be better from now on. And that to me is an adult choice. It's a mature choice. I get to choose what my life's going to be like. And isn't it exciting that you get to decide too? And if you decide that you're going to blame your past and you're going to have some kind of addiction to try and forget about your past, I accept that that's a choice and that's a personal adult choice. But could it be a good idea then not to blame? Because that happened, I've chosen to react to it this way. Not everybody reacts to it that way. Some people respond. And if you've chosen to react, then that's just called accept the consequences, take responsibility. And maybe that's the thing that's missing in the world right now. Rather than blaming other people, blaming the past, blaming the government, justifying and blaming why we are the way we are now, could it be a really good idea to accept responsibility? And more important than that we have a choice. Doesn't matter what we've done in the past. We can't change the past, but we can certainly have a much better future. We can have an exciting future. We can wake up every day doing what we love. We can be healthy, fit and strong. We can be financially free, and we can choose to have respectful people in our life, because all of those is a choice. So thank you for coming to Romax, because that's what Romax is all about. And from my heart to yours, if you do have children in your life, if you do have people in your life who are looking into your life, wanting or needing to be inspired or motivated, to know that it is possible to have a great life, may we live that example. So you can sing like I do every day. Super-duper-doo, how are you? I'm sure you are amazing, 'cause you choose to be. Woohoo!